But let's start with last night. Last night, the Dallas Mavericks end up holding off the Minnesota Timberwolves to take a 1-0 series lead. Here's Luka Doncic talking about what got him going in the fourth quarter.
What got you rolling offensively in the fourth?
I just said to myself, we got to win this game. I got to be way better because 3 quarters I didn't play good. So I just came in the fourth, get to my spot, and lead the team to win.
Competitive greatness. Can you be great when greatness is called upon? And I understand that Luka has not gotten past the Western Conference Finals. I understand that we have not seen him in an NBA Finals, so we don't see him as a champion. We see him as somebody, even going back to the Thunder series. Remember, he missed that free throw at the end of Game 4 that could have tied the game. But Luka was a part of a European championship with Slovenia. He was the MVP. And a FIBA championship with, I think, Real Madrid when he was 19 years old. He has that in him. And while we're sitting there thinking to ourselves, and it still may happen, that this is the series where Anthony Edwards really does put himself in that elite conversation. It's the Anthony Edwards takeover. Maybe it still happens. It's only game 1. But if you watched last night's game and you think Anthony Edwards was the best player on the floor, I would ask you to go and get your eyes adjusted. Now, look, Luka, he was actually a -9. By his own admission, didn't play well through 3 quarters. But he ends up with 33 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, a block shot, and a hard-fought 3-point win against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, he's literally everything in that fourth quarter you could hope he could be. And thanks to Kyrie Irving, who got him there, and Kyrie didn't hit any threes, they end up pulling off the win. Pulling out the win. Here's Luka on the team defense and pace of play.
I think our defense could be way better. I think we play today good defense, but we can be way better. And then with our pace, we've been last year. Our point of view, in the preseason was to move the ball faster, play with pace, and I think we've been doing that fine.
Here's Jason Kidd, the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, talking about Kyrie Irving, who was incredible in the first half.
What was Kyrie doing in the first half, Jason, with the 24 points to kind of set the tone?
He was being Kai, just picking his spots, using, different places on the floor to attack. I thought he did a great job of helping everybody relax, on the offensive end. And then I thought defensively he was competing. We got to do a better job of guarding the three-point line. But I thought Kai was big for us in that first half and got us off to a good start. And we were only down 3, and we just felt like we didn't play well.
Yeah, it is really interesting that can you survive when you're not playing well to allow your best player to ultimately play well. But I also think a good portion of it is the matchups, and this is such a different matchup for the Wolves, a different matchup obviously for the Mavericks, and that's what gives us a different outcome than, hey, the Timberwolves took down the defending champion, so the Timberwolves have to be the best team. The Timberwolves have better depth, and they're going to beat the Dallas Mavericks. And this is just different. It's just different. And I also think that Anthony Edwards, as good as he was defensively going back to their last series, and even in their first series against the LA Lakers, it's totally, totally different when you're guarding, and he got matched up sometimes with Kyrie Irving, who you struggle to keep up with that speed and quickness. Every defensive player doesn't guard every position well, and Anthony Edwards, who's a scorer, been trying to really buy in on defense. I think it's hurting his offensive game, and I also think that with Kyrie, when we get cross-matched there, that didn't work out well. But the bigger takeaway to me is I've been trying to tell everybody how good Luka Doncic is. People in the NBA know how good Luka Doncic is. My only question is, do now people at home understand how good he is? And maybe it's a lot like the size of NBA players. You can't truly appreciate it until you sit courtside. Maybe it's the speed of the NFL that you can't really appreciate unless you go and sit close in an NFL game? Maybe it's the physicality of soccer. Like soccer at a high level, professional soccer, international soccer, unbelievably physical. But you can't really see it unless, well, you're deep dive in there, you've played it yourself, or you're really, really close to the game. I don't know if he's wearing black shoes, which make you look slower. He isn't particularly fleet of foot. Like, there's not a lot of cut on his arms, and all of a sudden he ends up with 33 points and 8 assists and 6 rebounds. But the Luka takeover is for real. And whether you don't like him because he complains about every call, or you don't like him because it looks like he's moving in slow motion, and we grew up thinking that Michael Jordan jumping over small buildings with a single bound was the only way to be a great basketball player. And the reality is that though Tracy McGrady, for example, could score and could jump way higher than Luka Doncic, Luka's a better basketball player. We got game 2 tonight, and should be kind of interesting, especially considering we're just trying to figure out how much carryover there is from game 1 to from game 1 on. Right? That's really what it is. And it's, it's one of those things where the one that got away. And I could sit here and act like I know that it's going to affect the Pacers. I don't. I think it does. I think it really rears its head when you get late into a game if it's close, but I don't know if it affects them for the positive or for the negative. There's a expression. I like to credit myself, but I'll be honest, there's a chance somebody else said it, but I kind of think I brought it to the table. It goes like this. You got to feel the pain before you taste the champagne. Right? You have to go through the traditional progress of losing before you win. Now, that's usually for a series, for a team, for a level, to get the NBA Finals, to win an NBA championship. But there is something, too, in this series that can the Pacers feel that pain of the Game 1 loss when they essentially had it won and still taste the champagne of winning the series? I don't think they can. I think that was a series-changing loss that could have been a series-changing win. Usually the better team, and the Celtics by all metrics are a better team in the regular season, usually the better team could struggle Game 1, but Game 2 they get their legs, and if this Celtics team gets his legs in Game 2, this series is kind of a wrap. But I also don't particularly know. Don't know. Because sometimes some guys get super motivated by it, and they're not in their feelings, and they take out that anger on the opposing team. All right, we'll get back with Max Good in a moment. There's lots of discussion about the 18-game NFL season. I got to continue to point out that one of the most frustrating things in life is when you have a deal done, signed, and delivered, and then somebody goes, man, that deal that I agreed to stinks. Okay, so you can process that by your next deal not making that mistake. But you hear former NFL players and some current ones talk about 18 games. This is just lining the pockets of the owners. Like, we do realize that the contracts of players are spiking up. And they're doing so because there's more revenue. And there's more revenue because there's more games. There's more games because they mutually agreed in a collective bargaining agreement to play more games. It's not I have little sympathy. I have zero sympathy for NFL players playing 18 games. Zero. And I have zero sympathy for the idea of lifetime health care insurance for former players. One, ridiculously expensive, and two, unless the NFLPA is willing to sit out games when the contract is over to get their own way, what are we doing? You negotiated this deal. It's a 10-year deal. And now you think it's a bad deal because you negotiated a couple years ago? That one doesn't stand up to me.